Okay, hello and welcome to the Australia wildfire update because this is becoming such a crisis where I'm doing a separate video about this. And before I get started, I just want to say shame on News 12. They didn't lead with local news, and they didn't even talk about this. What did they talk about? This is what they spoke about. Yep, Trump, because a certain demographic wants to hear about it. News 12 is just ridiculous. All right, I'm just wanted to get that out of the way because I was so pissed and they didn't cover this at all. Not at all. You want to cover something that's important in the world, you cover this. All right, it's affecting millions of people. All right? Instead of talking about some blowhard doing wag the dog in Iran. All right? That's been my piece on that. Anyway, sorry, I had to get that out. I had to. But anyway, let's talk about this disaster going on. You can see the heat that they're dealing with in Australia. Look at these temperatures. Temperatures. There's been a bit of a front that's come through, but if we back it up to a 4, you will see how hot it was in Sydney. We're talking hundreds. And there was a front right over here that came through. They call it a southwesterly or something like that. Southwesterly change or southerly change. That's the way they refer to these fronts in Australia. But look at this. And I'm also going to put links in this video here. You can watch ABC News Live, Australian Broadcasting Company. Not ABC here in America, but they call it ABC there. But you can see, look at the heat. And look at the strong winds. So they're dealing with this heat. And then they're dealing with these strong winds. If we look at these wind gusts, look at these winds that they're dealing with. 55 miles an hour in these areas where the fires are burning. All right? Insanity. All right? And I think it's gotten worse, too, the winds. Let's see. The winds have gotten a little better. But the conditions are really bad right now. So you can see that there's been a front that has passed. Right? And you also have very low humidity, too, coupled with this. But there's still a lot of heat over the continent of Australia. It's a large continent. And the heat that they've been dealing with, hundreds. Look at these temperatures, 111. I mean, absolutely insane. Luckily, it's cooled off in Melbourne. But Sydney's still on the border of this heat. It's starting to get a little better there. But the heat has been terrible. And you combine the heat with these fires. And it's insanity. So let's look at the high-resolution satellite right now. And we can take a look at what it looked like in Australia about a little over 12 hours ago. This is the satellite picture taken. And look at the smoke from these fires. They're actually creating their own Pyrocumulus clouds, which are like thunderstorm clouds. And unlike a thunderstorm that brings rain, most of these don't bring a lot of rain. They just bring lightning, which starts more fires. People have been trapped along the coast, have had to get evacuated by boats. And you can see the smoke and how thick it is. It is so thick in some of these areas that it's literally night. It's dark during the day. The sun doesn't come out. It's completely black. It's dark, completely dark. It's almost like a volcano has erupted. That's how crazy this is. I'll put the towns on here. I'll put the towns on here so you can get an idea. Malakuta, for instance, they've had to evacuate this town. And what's worse is there are transmission power lines that have been knocked out by this. So there's power shortages now in this New South Wales area and Victoria area of Australia because these power lines have been severed. So there may be blackouts. They may have to start turning off power, which is when it's that hot. It's a really bad thing to do, obviously. So this is what the smoke looks like in Australia, and you can see. Look at how far it's drifting. So it's drifted. Now we know it's drifted to New Zealand, all right, and it's caramelized the glaciers there. Look at how far this smoke. This smoke is going to make it all the way to South America. So this is how far the smoke has made it right now. It's in the South Pacific Ocean. It's probably going to make it to South America. It's going to probably go around the whole southern hemisphere at this rate. It's going to get caught up in the whole jet stream there. This is insane. Look at that dark smoke. I've never seen smoke from wildfires look like this before. This is unbelievable. So if we go to today, we don't have the latest image, but we do have another image here. You can see the smoke coming here again. This really just thick smoke here, and look at this dark brown smoke. It looks like it's going to be heading over the northern island of New Zealand. That would be Auckland. I guess for the 5th. It's the 5th there. So of January. You can see. Look at this. I mean, this is insane. This is going to block out the sun in Auckland, and this smoke is going to go all the way to South America. I've never seen anything like this before. This is the worst wildfires that I've ever seen in my life that we're seeing. This is like the apocalypse here. All right, and yet the news, but for the most part, the news is ignoring it here in the United States, which is not a surprise. At least in Australia, they are talking about it. But this is a real, just people, many hundreds of homes and towns are being destroyed. Immense destruction going on. So if we look at this, this is a map of the weather hazards in Australia, and these are all the fires here. All these fire warnings that are up here, and just look at all these fire warnings you have here. Watch and act. Blue is advice, and red would be emergency warning. I don't know why there aren't so many reds, but you can see these are all the areas where the fires are going and where they've been evacuated across this area. So you can see all these little towns here. Then people have had to evacuate to the water just to get away from it. And like I said, these transmission lines have been damaged, and there are power shortages too as a result of this. So this is like this whole area of Australia could wind up becoming uninhabited, destroyed completely. Where's Sydney in here? Oh, here's Sydney. I mean, this whole area of Australia could become, the civilization could just collapse here. This is a serious problem. This is a disaster. This is what we're seeing due to climate change. And it's scary. We could be next. Think about Australia for a moment, because we'll go to this here. For wildfires are so bad, skies are turning orange. Okay, we go to the Twitter here, and this is another map here of Sydney reached 108 today. It usually never gets that hot in Sydney. All right, it's a warm climate, but it never gets that hot. All right, and these are some things that have been put up about Australia. So this is another map here of all the fires that have been going on. Look at all this. Whole country is on fire, and it's not a small country, because here is Australia superimposed on the United States. So it's about the size of the United States. Imagine most of the United States on fire. All right, that's what they're dealing with in Australia right now. So it's a terrible disaster. It's an apocalypse, is what it is. That's what I titled this video: Apocalypse in Australia, because that's what's going on right now. All right, we have an apocalypse in Australia. That is, we are burning. That's many of these firefighters are volunteers. This is a huge, immense disaster. And the other thing, when I've Googled this, 12 million acres have burned in Australia. 12 million acres. And yeah, the country could change forever. We're going to go ahead and look at this on Earth in Null School now, and take a look at some of the smoke that's being emitted. Looking at earthnullschool.net here. Look at the particles, and we'll look at the smoke. It's usually PM1, so this PM panels show up every year. Well, that's too much. Yeah, this is good. All right, so you'll be able to see here. Look at all these fires. Look at all the smoke. This is all smoke from fires here, and you can see it's just drifting around the whole hemisphere. And then what happens is this darkens the glaciers, and it's going. Yeah, it's actually going to go around the whole hemisphere. I think they're going to get it in South America. I think they're going to get it in Antarctica. They're going to get it in Africa. It's going to circle the whole southern hemisphere. There's so much smoke being produced. All right, it's unbelievable. What's going on here? It's an apocalypse. And if we go switch it over to chemicals, and you'll be able to see this is carbon monoxide. There's a lot of carbon monoxide coming out of these fires too. This really shows up all the fires here burning. Okay, really well. You can see here are all the fires burning here in Australia. We saw this in Canada. Now we're seeing it in Australia. The Earth is burning, folks. It's burning. This is like an apocalypse going on here. And we're sitting here in a stupid thing, concerned about Trump and Wall Street and terrorists, because, certain demographic wants to hear about that. And this is another map here of some of these emissions coming out of Australia from these fires. and it's terrible. So if we go back to air here, we can look at the temperatures. We can look at the relative humidity. Actually, you can look at that, and you can see how dry it is. Very dry, dry heat, strong winds, conditions very favorable for fires to get out of control. And normally, what happens is, I think we can draw this here. I'll draw this. Normally, what happens is you have this. Let me get my drawing thing out here again. You have a monsoon in eastern Australia. So usually you have a monsoon that'll bring the water in. So usually what will happen is you'll have moisture coming from the Indian Ocean that goes over Australia. All right, and brings it in. But because we have, well, we're going to go ahead and erase this now and explain to you why this isn't happening. So let me go ahead and erase this. Explain to you why we're not seeing the moisture coming in over Australia. So if I go here and we'll look at sea surface temperature anomalies. Ocean, sea surface temperature anomalies. We have a lot of warm water around Australia. All right. You'd think that would generate more rain, but what's happening is the water here has a bigger anomaly than the water here off south of India. So normally, because of that, actually this is India over here. Because of that, India's over here. Because of that, you're not getting, it's not a huge anomaly, but it's enough to throw off the moisture feed that comes from this area that normally brings rain into Australia. So you're not seeing that. You're not seeing the rain. And you have this warmer than normal ocean here, and that's feeding back into this whole system, making it much hotter over Australia and drier. And there's no rain. There's no rain in Australia. They haven't had rain. If we look at, let me see if we can get rainfall here. I don't know if this actually does precipitation. Well, all I could do is total cloud water. We can do that, or total precipitable water. You can see this shows what I'm talking about. Instead of this moisture coming over Australia, it's not really coming over Australia and bringing the rains. Instead, it's dry, and it's been dry. Hardly had no rain, heat. Literally, they're just burning. It's like being in an oven. So that's what's happening to Australia. It's a terrible disaster, and I wanted to make a separate video about it because it's really to Australia fires hashtag, and we'll get some more information here to show you. Here is what's going on, and look at this. Oh my gosh, that's an animal that died. Look at this koala here. Oh, they're rescuing him. Thank God. Oh, they're so cute. You know how many animals have died? 500 million. That's what they're estimating. So you can imagine what's happening here. All right? In Australia, this disaster, it could easily be us, and yet we are just so consumed with greed and so consumed with money, so consumed with this blowhard that we have as our president right now, while a whole country is burning. So if you want to talk about world news, News 12, this is what you need to be leading with. All right? So this is a disaster. I can't show you some of these images because it's too upsetting and it's too gory. But the animals are dying, and 250 million tons of CO2 have been emitted. So that's been this update on these Australian wildfires. I will keep you posted. Unlike News 12, News 12 is news for snobs. All right, that's what they are. They're news for snobs. And you know what? The snobs think they can insulate themselves from this. No one is safe from climate change. And when the waters come up because the ice has melted, all the snobs on the South Shore will be flooded. And what are they going to say then? So that's been my piece. Thank you for watching, and let's pray for Australia. Let's pray for rain, and these horrible fires get put out because right now, unfortunately, it does not look like there's any relief for Australia. And just pray. We have to pray. We have to pray, and we have to do something about this climate emergency. And as far as Trump goes, I think the UN should just get him out. All right. Well, anyone who doesn't want to do anything about climate change needs to be removed from office by the UN. That's the way I feel about it. Anyway, that concludes this video. Take care.